Welcome to Great Conversations, the podcast where meaningful dialogue uncovers insights that spark new perspectives and inspire change. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Integrate, a wellbeing platform designed to help you reconnect with yourself and live a life of balance and fulfillment. With personalised assessments, science-backed tools, coaching and community support, Integrate empowers you to build resilience, reduce stress and thrive both personally and professionally. Visit www.integrate.net to claim your free 14-day trial and start your journey to balance today. And now, let's dive into this inspiring conversation. This week on Great Conversations, I have the honour to chat to the founder of the Arrigo Programme, Fiona Arrigo. Fiona, welcome to Great Conversations. How are you?
Dearest Nicola, what an honour. And I'm so happy to be with you and to see where this conversation goes.
Well, let's just jump straight into it then. The question that has been left to you by the previous guest is quite a big one. Fiona, who do you need to apologise to and why?
This is so big and so powerful. And I'm going to say this absolutely from my heart and without any cliches. But if you ask me for an apology or who, I would absolutely say 1000% Gaia, Mother Earth, for everything that I have done, we have done in the unconsciousness. This is this stage of my life. I'm turning 70 in 2 weeks, and how my relationships have grown into much more transpersonal relationships with life. And so my biggest apology is that, what have I done in all my ignorance, in all my taking, in all my entitlement, in all my lack of awareness? What have I done? What has my part been in this? And for this, I would offer my deepest, deepest, deepest apology.
And that, I mean, as you say, it's a really interesting evolution, isn't it? Because I wonder if I'd asked you 10 years ago if you'd have said a person or a situation. So what's been the journey and the change and the shift for you to say that now?
And I'm just laughing because, of course, they're all the broken hearts that we've done through our life passage. And of course, having children, I'm a mother of 2. And however much we learn and grow and develop and understand, there's always that, have I done enough for my children? And as we walk into consciousness, as we walk into awareness, as we walk into waking up, we have to hold ourselves very steady in our own self-forgiveness. So it's kind of that, I'm going to come to the answering of your question in a minute, of like, who do I want to apologize to? But also, how can I forgive myself? That's so important, because looking back as we grow, certainly in my reality, there's a long line of things that I have not done well. And my dedication has simply been to do it better the next day. And now, because we're more in present time, better in the next moment. And I think as and we expand into consciousness, we grow into this relationship that isn't just about ourselves. I absolutely believe that, and for anybody listening, if this is uncomfortable, just take it in this breath, that I absolutely know that working on ourselves is key. We have to keep doing this. But it's also, where are we in relationship with the collective? Where are we in relationship with nature? Where are we in relationship with Mother Earth? Where are we in relationship with our cosmology? And all this, as I found, as wearing a therapeutic hat that I don't really wear so much anymore, that all the work that I do in the individual sessions that I do is always based around that interrelationship between these. It's personal, it's transpersonal, it's collective. How does the greater affect our personal lives? And how do we ourselves, take responsibility of how we affect the planet, the collective. And that's been a seismic shift in our own wake up over these recent years.
I wonder if, can you even get to that point of thinking about our connection to the broader, the planet, the cosmos, sort of maybe higher beings, if we haven't done that internal work first? And I think that I'm just really curious about that, like our individual journey to forgiveness, to reside from a space of living from the inside out and what you call heart-based living. Is that the journey that we have to go on individual and have that sort of self-actualization before we can then even consider how we then contribute to the collective and the planet around us? Or can they work symbiotically together, and should they? Because we pull so much energy from nature and communities and people around us that we're often not aware of.
Can we have 100 hours to talk? These are such brilliant, brilliant questions. And of course, there's many answers to it. And, people can have wake-ups. Many people are having wake-ups. Many people are having deep dreams. Many people are suddenly going, I don't want this life anymore. I want to do something different, because we are part of a collective wake-up. So I think that's running, of course. But when we're talking about integration, when we're talking about groundedness, when we're talking about self-responsibility, accountability, becoming as clean as we possibly can, cleaning our shadows that never seem to end. We clean one and up comes another. This is part of service on this planet, to be integrated, to be embodied, to not be split, to be doing sort of head up and doing, what's the word? Spiritual sidestepping. That's not quite the word, but we need to come in. And therefore, that's the work. That's all the therapeutic work and all the whatever journeys we're on, medicine path journeys, whatever it is, that's where we keep seeing, clearing, becoming, and walking into radical self-honesty, which leads us to a heart-based connection with as many people as possible, because we're not getting triggered in the same way. We're building resilience. We're able to expand energetically as well as psychologically in moments that are challenging, because we have that meeting, that knowing of ourselves.
There's a couple of things that I want to explore, but I think the first one I'm going to ask is, why is that important?
To know ourselves.
Yeah, to do that integration and what you're advocating for, that level of consciousness, to do the work, to actually get still, get grounded, get curious, look at what did you say, clean your shadows. Why actually is that important? God,
I absolutely love you. I mean, to ask that question, I mean, it's simply this: is it important in your knowing? Is it important in your service? Why are you here? What timeline are you on? What's the importance in this moment of this incarnation for you? And of course, you can live a life in front of Netflix and McDonald's and fast cars or whatever it is. It's a planet of infinite timelines, infinite choice. But I think for many of us, we're turning up to serve in this time and to be vehicles of change, to be part of the change maker, to be part of all the unhealed mess that has happened. History is history, and we're not here necessarily to look back and judge it, but we are here to learn and grow from it. And we haven't behaved very well in our evolutionary dance, colonization, binarization, gratification, entitlement, taking, ruining, hurting, harming. And if you're part of this wake up, which has got many streams again of consciousness, we become inner activists. We want to be better custodians, better people for our families, for our workplace, for our planet, for our bodies, for the greater beings, the whole shebang. Tune in on any of those levels, because those of us that are born with that DNA, that wake up, that seed, that's what we're here to do. We're part of the transformational process. It's not everybody's journey, and it's also a strong journey. It's not like dolphins and green juice and chasing butterflies. To do this work requires courage, it requires commitment, it requires compassion, it requires radical looking at yourself. That's my path. That's what I can talk to you about. It's not a fluffy path. It would have been so much easier if it had been.
I know, I was going to say that too. I think that's one of the things that I find really interesting about this space of change makers, light workers, and people that are sort of, working to increase their own consciousness, but also the collective consciousness. I think people are too quick to dismiss it as airy fairy and, unicorns and rainbows, and it's not. It's hard, it's dirty, it's arresting sometimes, it's humbling, it's all of that stuff. It's expanding your capacity to, I think, really embrace and accept humanity in all of it, in all of the spheres and spaces, the darkness, the light, and everything in between. So I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a path that is for the brave and is for the courageous, because it's not an easy one to walk for many, many different reasons. And so,
absolutely. And I just think to just interject there, in that beautiful word that you've just offered, to be humble, to be compassionate and to be humble, and that quality to even understand and walk that path means that we can simply bring something without any grandiosity to the day, to a shop, to somebody in the petrol station, because we're not being activated by stress and unprocessed stuff. We're more empty, therefore we have more time, therefore we can see another, therefore we can understand another, therefore we can stop and be with another for 5 seconds or a lifetime. This is the path. This is the path of the heart.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's the gift, isn't it? It's the gift of presence. And then what that brings both to yourself and then to the relationships in your life, and not necessarily just the relationships with other humans in your life as well. And it is truly the power of that. And one of the things I would love to know more about is your journey to this place. So what was it that put you on the path to, advocating for this wisdom and living in such a heart-centered way that you do today?
It's been a really strong path of becoming into, and all that I have known since I was a little girl is what I'm doing now. But it's been a very deep, deep, deep journey of awakening into the restfulness of where I am today. And so, I had memories when I was 5 years of age. I had experiences when I was 7 years of age. I came from a massively dysfunctional, chaotic, horrible family of origin, which caused so many splits and rifts and hurts in my system that have taken a long time to draw back into my knowing. But they've all been purposeful. They've all been, would I go back and change any of it? Absolutely, 1000% no. And within this journey of walking forward and forgetting, so I would say I was a reasonably awake child up until about 7, and then deep family trauma cut in, There was a break in it when I was 12, and then it reactivated until I was 21. And then I married a wonderful frog prince, and he brought even more shadowlands to me. And the turning point in all this was I had a really very powerful accident on my first Saturn return when I was 28 years of age that broke many parts of my body and put me in hospital when I was for something like a year and a half, and I had to learn to walk again. And I ended up, if you like kind of romance and mysticism, I ended up with scars on every single chakra through my body. And it was in that first impact of being run over and going through the windscreen in an island that had a massive metaphysical power point. I started to wake up. Teachers started to come, healers started to come. I started to become very conscious of bigger realities. And then 1 year after that accident, I was out of hospital in November. Life called me again into the cauldron. And I had another massive accident 3 months later, where I ended up in hospital for another 6 months and had to learn to walk again. So there's something in that. And I really ask anybody who's listening to be compassionate, because I don't come from the energy of analysis, that there is a reason for everything and this happens because. I come from the grace of surrender and understanding and a willingness to become the next part of my life. So yes, we could sit here and say, why did this trauma happen on the right side? What's your relationship to your masculine? Why did your body have to be broken into many pieces for eventually 3 times, because I had another very bad accident in India 2 years ago. So my bones have had to be broken many times. So each accident has brought me further into compassion. Each accident has brought me further into surrender. Each accident has brought me further into connection.
Obviously, madly speechless. That is unbelievable. And I would love to understand surrender. You've used this word a couple of times, and I think I struggle with this concept of how do you surrender? And part of the things that I always gravitate towards is there's got to be a lesson here. So when things have happened in my life, it's pausing and it's getting curious and being like, okay, what is it that I'm meant to learn from this experience in order, I think, just to make meaning of something. I think meaning, to make it make sense. Because for me, like, it's hard to move forward unless I've cognitively figured out why this, not in a victim, why did this happen to me, in a curious, how can I grow and evolve from this, and what's the reason? So I've actually always really struggled with this word surrender and this concept of surrendering and just letting things be, and maybe accepting that there just is no answer, it just is. How do you do that?
I don't come from the path of answers. I'm much more comfortable sitting in the mystery of no answers, and an innate trust that life is working itself out, and that we don't necessarily have to know everything. There isn't necessarily a reason behind everything. Many people grow through understanding why my father did this, why my mother did this, why my ex-lover did this, why the bank manager did this, why Weight Watchers did it, whatever it is. Many people's mental bodies connect in that way and start to feel safe through knowing. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. This part of surrender is deeply connected to trust. And so it's quite opposite, in as much as if we have to know to feel safe and have all the answers, or some of the answers so we can continue, what's our relationship to trust?
Love that question.
And trust is deeply connected to surrender.
And vulnerability as well. Hugely vulnerable.
And the big word, devotion.
Ooh.
Devotion, because this is a spiritual path. It's a spiritual path. If I can love life so much, if I can devote my broken, torn, upside down, inside out, messed up self to life and say, this is my purpose, this is what I'm bringing, this is what I offer to life. And if this energy in some way helps others, how amazing and how beautiful. But it is that interrelationship between trust, surrender, and devotion, i.e., I've got a connection to something that is bigger than myself, whatever that is.
And by doing that, surrendering and trusting, like, does that mean that you think that you have no control over your life? So then it starts to bring up for me this question of destiny and predefined, and, you know, like, is there a belief there as well that, you know, your purpose in this incarnation is a certain role, and so by surrendering you let the universe bring that into your path, so you don't sort of have any preconceived ideas of you must do this, you must do that, in terms of driving careers and decisions that you make? Like, at what level, I guess I'm really curious, like, at what level does that surrender go to?
Absolutely. Again, a completely and utterly brilliant question. It's everywhere. It's all pervasive. It's this arrow of my life that has been moved by life, and it's tangible. It's like I've just come back from working in Saudi Arabia and India and Bali, and I feel that my life has been purposefully driven towards certain things to do. And that's just part of the movement of life. It's part of how we all live together on this planet. I move in a flow that I'm not overthinking about it. And yet I run a business. I have the Arrigo Programme. I have 9 people on my team. I have 35 or 40 therapists and consultants that I work with. I have things that need to be thought about. I have things that need to be actioned. I have things and clients that I choose to be accountable for. And I have a message, and I have a vision, and I have a philosophy. And I believe that I am part of this new collective story that is rising. And so they're coexisting. It's not one or the other. What's driving my being, what's stoking my heart, is my commitment to Great Spirit, is my commitment to life, is my love, is my devotion, is my humility, which I have to keep working on, hence 3 accidents, every broken bone. You know, I've had to do that journey to become humble, not to know and be safe, and yet be active to create. And so there are many different worlds or parts actually coexisting with a central driver, which is this path of trust, surrender, and devotion.
What you're articulating is very similar to my philosophy of the being and the doing, and actually, you know, both need to sort of exist in order for us to find, whether it's balance, fulfillment, enjoyment
and
through
peace,
life.
darling, peace.
That's the word I was looking for.
Peace, yeah. You know, collecting the pieces of ourselves is also that hologram of peacefulness. And to be at peace, I think this is one of the greatest offerings that we can give to life right now, is how can we become walking peace walkers. That we don't have to be gurus, that we don't have to be, wearing flax and bare feet. It's like, how can we be representatives of goodness, kindness, peacefulness, lovingness?
Absolutely. And so how can we?
By knowing ourselves, by loving ourselves, by accepting ourselves, by turning up as much as we can to let go of the lower emotions of fear and guilt and anger and rage and shame, and the big one on the planet, which none of us are through yet, unworthiness. And when we turn up, just waiting for this next question from you, when we turn up with that understanding of ourselves in all our untidiness and the bits that aren't good enough yet, when we turn up with a willingness and that inner connection, that within the whole story we are safe.
I love what you're saying. I mean, it's hitting home and it's resonating. It's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And there's, I agree with you. I think this disconnection that we have both to ourselves, to each other, is what's leading to a lot of pain that we're seeing in the world, which is then manifesting in really destructive behaviors. And one of the, when you said before, the biggest issue is unworthiness. I need to come back to that one, honestly, Fiona. Like, yes, that just hit home on so many different levels for me. Because for me, self-worth is one of the drivers of self-love. And I think when we really love ourselves and we go into the world grounded from a space of self-love and unconditional love, then we show up very differently in our spaces. And then it is easier to sort of be more connected and to spread that love and peace and, self-response, accountability that I think you're talking to as well. Once I leaned into self-worth and I understood what that meant for me and I started to build that, I found that then my life started to transform and I started to be able to live more consciously, more peacefully, more compassionately. I really softened just into being in life. And ironically, I became, I'm going to use this word powerful because that's the only thing, like I came into my power. That was the key that unlocked it for me. I'd love for you just to share how, for people out there that are thinking about this concept of self-worth, what is it? What does it look like? And then how, some advice on how you can maybe start building it for yourself if you feel it is lacking in your life.
First of all, not having self-worth is not, it's got to start with recognizing it really deeply, because it's in everybody, it's in everything. It's not like, and of course, if we haven't had the education of compassion and self-love and self-understanding to know this is part of the human experience. Part of the human experience is disconnection. Part of the global human experience from disconnection is to feel disempowered and cut off and non-belonging. When you are cut off and non-belonged, you are going to feel disempowered, which is going to disconnect you, which is going to take you back to, I have no worthiness. I don't exist. I don't deserve. That's on a baseline psychological route. How we heal that is to understand it deeply, just to look into it with compassion and go, okay, I feel that I am not worthy. If it's that, or I'm making bad choices for myself because I haven't given enough consciousness and awareness to this particular aspect of worth and worthiness. But how do we get over this for people that are listening? This is not like a crackerjack that we can do it quickly. None of this is quick fixing. And if it is, I'd walk in the other direction. It's work and worthiness. I can hold the places in me that doesn't feel worthy. What have I been cut off from? What have I been separated from? What is not loving me? What is not taking care of me? Where am I putting my choices, my attention, my everyday decisions into? Is this good for me? And this is a delicate one, because we believe that we don't have choice. How often are we told that in order to heal, we need to have money to see a therapist? In order to recover, we need money to do this. In order to be able to stop and think, we need money. Worth, power, is also, in my book, connected. This is a much broader conversation around the power and control of money. You cannot be successful without this. You cannot get anything without that. You cannot have a life without this. So we're already programmed, and this is a massive program to unhook from. But now that we're waking up into more conscious, expanded awareness, and we're able to see what we're being asked to look at is this massive disconnection. And all these disconnected aspects that we have been cut off from create a devaluing inside of ourselves and a lack of self-worth, because we don't belong to anything. We belong to a system that is dictating what success is, that isn't necessarily part of our own thinking, part of our own reclaimed wisdom. This call to think, to stop, to contemplate, to come back to yourself in the very fundamental basics. Who am I? Is this right for me? Is it serving me? And what can I do? Because everybody can do something. This is an age of coherence, and it is an age of conscious choosing. And this conscious choosing, in its capacity, starts to build a different bridge back to esteem. It starts to build a bridge back to, okay, the biggest problem here is education hasn't given anybody time to contemplate, to chew it over, to think. That's what education is. In the old schools, and Tibet, you'd get 30 monks in a room throwing books at each other and laughing until they came to a source of understanding something that would liberate. That's what education is about. It's liberation.
Well, that's what I was going to actually pick up on, is that, everything that you're advocating is in service of freedom. Because when you're, as you say, when you do that contemplation, when you slow down, when you start to answer those questions for yourself, you then free yourself from the trap of comparison. And then that's the empowerment piece. And so, if you want to get conspiracy theory about it, the system doesn't want us. The system wants us to be disconnected, busy, fearful, because actually the worst thing for them, because then those types of individuals are easy to control, manipulate, sell to. The people that are actually free, that know themselves, that are really grounded in a deep sense of knowing and peace, are, they're making choices for themselves. And I feel as if what you're talking to as well is really how you regain, if you're living your life feeling, I don't know why I just keep thinking this word brittle just keeps coming into my mind, really in a really brittle way, that you're very easy to break, you're very reactive, you don't have a capacity to hold any sort of volume of emotions, you're just constantly pulled so taut.
Absolutely.
If when you soften, and so then we think we have no choice, and what you're saying is, this is about taking back control of your life and actually increasing your capacity. It is
not control, taking back
power. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Actually, yeah, you would say not control because you surrender. And I'm like, no. But it is. You're right. It is. It's power. It is. It's
power
power
to think.
Yeah.
The power to think.
And to, do you know what as well? And to love. Honestly, like, just, my journey as well, and exactly what you're talking to, and obviously all the work that we do with Integrate, why I've created it is to empower people to come home to themselves. And what I thought, people talk about happiness, and, they're looking for how they can find happiness. And it's an interesting concept for me, because actually I found the journey to coming home gave me freedom, which then gave me love. And it's through love that I find that contentment and that peace. And I thought I knew what love was prior to going on this journey. And now my definition of what love is and my experience of love is so richer and broader. And from that, and I always had this, before I used to have this mindset and this fear around love as vulnerability and it's unsafe, and, this sort of, fear around it. Whereas now I get a lot of my power from love. Actually, it's such a powerful concept, choosing love. And I get to now choose love in every moment of my life. Whereas before, I was running to, searching, like it was all conditional. Whereas now, I have that within me, and that's the empowerment piece.
That's so beautiful.
I don't know why I got to that, but that's sort of, my learning and the power.
That's just so empowering for you to say, for people to hear. And I love this, what you're saying about love, because that's, love isn't an emotion. Love is a sense of being. And, whatever that great saying, which I use often in my talks, is we're coming into the age of the power of love, not the love of power. We're coming into the age of love, not the love of power.
I love that.
And that's really kind of summarizes it all. And when you said earlier that, about conspiracy, I'm the last person on the block to be in conspiracy, but I think that we have to be aware as we contemplate and understand, what are we agreeing to? Who said that was right?
And what advice would you offer to, I guess, in order to, because we're in this transition period, aren't we? Where, as you say, we exist within a system. Yeah, we exist within a system. So we might be, on this path of consciously evolving and wanting to find, build more rest, contemplation, peace, become more connected, everything we're advocating. And the reality is that we live in a system where inflation's high, cost of living is high. So, unfortunately, money does matter. Unfortunately, we do have to sell our time to make money to feed ourselves, put the lights on. A huge amount of people have been pulled into poverty over the, recent years. So what advice would you offer of how to navigate that and how to square that with the reality being that actually money does matter, time does matter, and we might not want it to, but that's the reality that we're living in at the present moment.
Yeah. That's again, it's potent. And my answer to that is build communities, sit with people that nourish you, sit with people that tell you good stories, listen to good things, nurture your mind and nurture your heart, and understand that everyone is going through transition.
What those concepts offer for me is that internal reflection, because by saying do things that nourish you, do things that you find pleasurable, you have to do some form of internal thinking of, well, what does nourish me? What will bring me pleasure today in this moment right now? Which,
Exactly.
It changes, doesn't it, as you sort of go through.
That's so important, Nicola, if I can just say something, because the system is designed to keep you running. And so often we don't even know how to nourish ourselves. I mean, we're that effed up. We don't even know how to nourish ourselves. So compassion, and this is a discipline. So if it's like 10 minutes a day, start there. Start in a gentleness of coming back to yourself.
Whatever it is that you're choosing to nourish you, again, I just keep going back to this concept of surrender. It's surrendering into that moment. It's surrendering into the task in service of exploration and wisdom that will come internally. Unfortunately, we are at our time. And so I'm going to end with the question that I ask all of my guests. Fiona, what is something that other people value that you don't?
There's something in this about relationship to success, and that success is based on material reward.
What does success then mean to you if it's not linked to materialism?
Living a life that is connected. Living a life that is connected. Living a passionate life. Living an alive life. Living a life that is so rich.
I love that. Fiona, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your love. We will continue this conversation for hours.
Yeah, honestly, can we do it? It's been such a pleasure, and also really you took my breath away so many times in the questions that you asked, and I so love that you went straight into the heart of it. So thank you so much. I've loved this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being part of another great conversation. Your thoughts and feedback really mean the world to me, so please let me know what stood out to you or what topics you'd like us to explore next. Your feedback and input really helps us grow, so please don't hesitate to leave a comment or reach out. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to our channel. It honestly makes a huge difference. Not only does it help us reach more people, but it also helps us grow this incredible community. I want to send a heartfelt thank you to my editor, Stian Marit, for making every episode sound amazing. And also to Jamie Jenkin for the beautiful music you hear each week. As always, I'm sending you so much love. Bye for now.